Hey everyone, it's Nancy, the nurse practitioner here with another video, and we're going to talk today about scoliosis. You know, when we think about scoliosis, we think about children having it, but as you get older, you can also have scoliosis, and it can cause a lot of problems in your lifetime and change your quality of life. And we're going to talk all about that today, and my new guest today is Krisber Castro. She is a yoga teacher, and for 6 years she's been doing this. And we're going to talk about, for today, for our learning objectives, we're going to educate you about the different types of adult scoliosis. What are the signs and how do you get tested for scoliosis? And we're also going to talk about different treatment modalities out there to maintain your mobility and also prevent pain. So let's introduce Krisber. Nice to have you join us today.
Hi, thank you for having me on. This is great.
I'm glad you're here. You're lucky. You're outside. I'm inside. I went outside and my computer didn't work. I'm like, what? Okay, so I'm back in the dining room. So, Krisber, tell us why you got involved as a yoga teacher with scoliosis. Let's start with that.
I really got started because my own child was diagnosed with scoliosis at the age of 10. And I knew that yoga would be the way to help her. Obviously, conventional medicine is the first choice, but yoga was going to be her continuous treatment, something that she would do for the rest of her life. So I made it my purpose and my knowledge and my passion. It became, yes.
Yeah, almost a mission,
my mission,
right?
To really learn what yoga can do for someone who has scoliosis. And I mean, and it's evolved. I really started with the focus of just the kids. But I've learned that it's not just the kids. It's something that follows us through life. And if we don't take care of ourselves, then, you know, it can become a real problem.
And, you know, that's really important that you mentioned that. My a relative of mine, not on my side of the family, but on my husband's, had scoliosis. He was the last of 7 and got it as a child. He was a truck driver for many years, and which probably didn't help him.
No.
And finally landed up with a long rod in his back, and actually the cold winter days really bother him. He can feel the cold in his back, and he's also not doing well because of pain. So even having this surgery caused him, well, in addition, I think he had complications from osteoporosis, which is so hard to seal a rod in there if your bones are not, you know, supporting.
Not strong.
He has a tough go of it, and I worry for him. So we're going to.
It's difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
It's difficult, because surgery is not a cure. Sometimes it's presented as a cure-all, but it's not a guarantee.
Yeah. And if you're still going to have pain and it doesn't change your quality of life, what did you gain if that's not your solution? So we'll talk about the treatment in a little while, everyone, but we're going to talk first about the spine. So Krisber, show us your spine. Show us your pictures of your spine.
Here we go. Well, I'll show you what the different types of scoliosis we have.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see my picture here?
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay. So we have over here, the first picture, this picture here, this one here, is of a regular spine, of what it would look like normally. Then this one here starts to look of what a scoliosis in your lower spine would look like. Then we have one in your upper portion of your spine would look like.
Right.
This is your middle back. And then sometimes we have an S curve, so that we have a small curve at the top and another curve at the bottom. These are the types, the more typical types of scoliosis that you would get. And scoliosis is what they call idiopathic, which means there's no known reason or cause for the scoliosis. It can happen genetically, but there's no real understanding of why people get scoliosis.
So your situation was genetic, right? I'm sorry.
Mine is genetic. Ours is genetic. It runs in our family. And I grew up knowing I had an aunt who had this hump, but it was never called scoliosis. So I had no understanding of what scoliosis was. I was diagnosed after I had my first daughter. When I was diagnosed with scoliosis, and it's very minor, but again, not knowing and not educating myself, I was like, oh, that's scoliosis. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't bother me. And I kept my life moving. But now umpteen years later, scoliosis is becoming a problem. But through yoga, I'm able to ease my discomforts and keep my body still mobile.
That's great. But tell us about that, how they found it, because you weren't having symptoms.
I wasn't having symptoms. I went in to have x-rays for something else. And the technician, I was laying down on a table and they were doing the x-rays from above. And the technician came in twice and she said, she took the first picture and she goes, "You moved." And I said, "No, I didn't." And she goes, "All right." She again straightened me out and she went, took the picture. She goes, "You moved." I was like, "I didn't move." And the third one, she figured it wasn't me moving and it was in the same spot. She goes, and she asked me, she goes, "Do you have scoliosis?" And I was like, "What is that?" I had never heard of scoliosis. So that was my introduction. But again, because I had no pain, no discomfort, totally dismissed it.
Okay.
And that's what happens.
So then, and when you found out for your daughter, you were like, "Wow, look at this. Okay, here's that genetic link, through
Yep.
your aunt to you, your daughter."
Yes.
Good to know. Good to know. Do you want to show us the spine? Or where are we here? We're going to look at the adult scoliosis, the different types of them.
Yes. Well, we have a regular spine here.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that picture?
Yeah, nice and straight. See that,
Yep.
everyone? Nice and straight
Nice
down
and
the.
straight.
Mm-hmm.
That's a normal curve. The sideway curve this way, that's the little S curve. That is a normal curvature in our spine. That's normally occurring when we see the spine sideways. But when we look at this picture, that's like looking at straight on. And that's what a spine should look like.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and as you can see, everyone, there's actually 24 movable bones in our back,
Yes.
from the cervical, then the thoracic. You can see
cervical, the thoracic portion of your spine,
the
the
lumbar,
lumbar part, and then the sacrum.
It says pelvis, but it's really the sacral, the sacral area.
Yes.
And they're all connected together, as you know, like a linkage, with discs between them, and that's what makes us bend over and pick up something, or bend backwards and do backflips when you're young.
Yes.
Makes us.
And I have another slide that shows these muscles become tight when it's not the most clearest muscles, but these muscles here all become affected when we have scoliosis.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yes. And you would never think your legs would be affected by it, but look at the hamstrings. All those muscles become a problem.
Okay, so it's all lower back stuff, legs, hips, pelvis,
and even our core. Yes.
Yeah, I see that even the core, the abdominal muscles are involved.
Yep.
That's pretty incredible. I didn't think it would.
Yes.
Okay.
It's insane.
Yeah, that's pretty tough stuff. So we talked about the different types of deformities that adults can have. And we talk about also like the woman that's humped and walking with her cane. That is not that's actually osteoporosis, everyone, not scoliosis. Usually
Yeah, the scoliosis is the curvature of the spine that starts to form that S. The curvature that occurs with the osteoporosis as you age is a little different versus the scoliosis.
Well, actually, what happens, everyone, is the vertebrae start to get very thin, and they kind of crumble. And as they crumble, they collapse the spine, and that's when you lean forward. And they give you pain, and they press on the discs.
Discomfort.
Osteoporosis is like the bone itself gets so thin, it cracks and crumbles and fractures, and then it collapses over. So the spine is not straight now, it's doing this because there's no support. So usually people that could be kyphotic, and that's what I see with a lot of women as they're getting older, you can start to see it happen. And you know what? It's also getting shorter, but that's a whole other subject, and that's another whole video. But I just wanted to make sure you guys didn't confuse scoliosis with osteoporosis.
Yeah, no, it's two different things.
And when we go over the next thing is we're really not supposed to lose height as we get older. Technically.
No, but it starts to happen.
It does start to happen.
And if you have scoliosis, you're definitely losing height. I know you lose a little bit of height depending on the curvature that you have. You do lose a little bit of height because of that.
Okay, and I can see that because you're no longer straight, and if you're
Mm-hmm.
curving, you're going to lose like a half an inch to an inch or whatever, how severe that the
That
curvature
curvature
is.
is,
You
yes.
can kind of see that, everyone, right? It's kind of visual. We're going to send you a lot of things to the Facebook page at Caregiver Success, and we're going to tell you information about Krisber, where you can reach her, but also some of these pictures, because it's always nice to look at a visual after our lectures. So just want to make sure you know that, okay?
Yes.
So what are the signs, and how are we tested?
Some of the signs are simple low back pain, stiffness,
Mm,
a little bit of numbness, cramping in the legs. And at this point, because when you're getting the cramping and the shooting pains, it's because the curvature has started to pinch a nerve. And your back muscles can feel tired, like you'll have a difficult time standing for long periods of time, or those nice long walks that you used to
mm.
take become more difficult. And that's where you go to your physician and you say, this is what's happening. And the doctor may want to take x-rays and find out what's going on in your back to
So
cause
this is
those.
interesting. I was a clinician for many years, but I never really thought about scoliosis. They come in, they say they have this pain that's coming down and radiating down their leg, and it's going to enter their knee. And I would always think of sciatic pain, and I would think of the
Yep.
lower back. But little did I know, even the X-ray. Actually, I never really had anyone diagnosed with scoliosis from the X-ray, but I could see where that sciatica that
Mm-hmm.
we all know what it is because we've all had it one time or another, could be
Yes,
actually caused by scoliosis, not just arthritis in your lower back.
in your lower back.
Or
Yes.
spinal stenosis, which is another whole ball of wax.
That's a whole nother, but it can cause scoliosis. Yes.
It can cause scoliosis, it can cause pain down the legs,
Yes,
right? Okay.
absolutely. So you would have that x-ray and the
Mhm.
doctor may want further information and maybe even have you go for an MRI to figure out where the pinching is, what nerves are being pinched, just to really give you a good evaluation
Yeah,
of
the
what.
MRI actually covers a lot of soft tissue
Hmm.
information, so you get further, so you can actually see the nerve, you could see the pinching, you could see all the soft tissues leading, and that's after the X-ray, right? Usually.
Yes.
And
Yes,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
because the x-ray would clearly show where the curvature in the spine and where it's at, and they
Mhm.
can even read and measure if there is scoliosis there, what the curvature, the degrees are.
So this is what would happen. You'd probably get an X-ray of your entire spine. You'd
Yes.
find out where the scoliosis is,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd have an MRI of that area to see which nerve is pinching, because you don't need it of the whole back unless you have more than one scoliotic spot, correct?
Yes.
That may determine that. So it's this is really very good because the more you learn about some of these the imaging to get you to what you got, now you know what the problem is, so you can start
Yes.
thinking of how you're going to solve this. Important. So maybe we should talk about. Is there anything else you want to add about that before we go on, Krisber?
No, because this is discussing about the adults and the idiopathic, that if you have it, if you had it as a child, most likely it's followed you as an adult. So
Mm-hmm.
if it wasn't a problem as a child, doesn't mean that it's not going to be a problem as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So those symptoms may have been with you, or you didn't have anything before, but now you're showing symptoms of it. So this is the time that it's never too late um, to try to do something
So
to
you could even
alleviate.
have a little bit as a child,
Yep.
and then you
And,
get pregnant, or you're a woman and you get pregnant, and then you have it as you were,
yep.
and then you
Yeah.
have a little more changing of your back, and then when you hit my age, now you have back pain. You're like, oh, okay, what is this? I could have had scoliosis all my life, maybe, and
And you
didn't.
wouldn't have known. I could have had it as a very young kid, and it was so small and insignificant that no one picked up on it. I didn't have any discomfort. And then because scoliosis does affect you as a woman, it affects you in 3 important stages in your life. When you first get diagnosed as a young child, um, then during pregnancy time is that second stage where scoliosis can get worse because of all the softening of the ligaments. And
Mhm.
then as you age, scoliosis can become a problem again, just because the bone structures and everything changing in your body.
Okay,
So
so yeah, so women seem to have scoliosis more than men. Is that correct?
yes, it is. And the consensus seems to be it's just because of the hormone changes that our bodies go through.
Mhm.
more often than what the boys go through. So that's what they attribute, but there's no real science of why or explanation of why scoliosis occurs.
Okay. So let's talk now about self-care, or what are some treatments, and maybe self-care should be the first one, right?
Yeah, well, self-care is taking care of yourself, you know, watching your weight. If it's really uncomfortable, over-the-counter medication. Maybe your doctor recommends that you do physical therapy. Physical therapy is an excellent also way just to get you started to move. And yoga is the other way that you can do that self-care for yourself. Yoga helps you move your body in such a way that, and it's easy care yoga, nothing that is vigorous or too excessive, but a nice gentle moving yoga is very good to get the body moving in a very mindful way, so that you can start to stretch those muscles that we saw earlier, and alleviate that tension being caused in your back.
So before we even go further, and that's really great because that's what you do, is we also talked about there's other things that we can do. You know, lifting and bending, people need to know how to do that. And how do you find good posture? I mean, I like to stand up against a wall and, you know, make my back flat against the wall, and then I know that's how I should be walking, right?
You can't, yes, that's a good way, because sometimes we forget that we hunch over. The wall is a good way to neutralize the spine, meaning that it's allowing us to stand up in a neutral way. Sometimes we think we overcorrect, and that's causing another problem. So the wall would allow us to be able to have that neutral, where the spine is in a neutral line. It's not arched forward, it's not too arched too back, and you would have to be able to have your shoulder blades nicely pressed against the wall, have your lower portion of your back nicely pressed against the wall, not too much pressure, and you're not distorting your hips or anything of the sort. And I always recommend staying there just for 2 breaths, 3 breaths, because we create something called muscle memory. Our muscles remember how they're supposed to be, or we do a repetitive motion. The body may think, oh, this is the way I'm supposed to stand, so I'm going to stand this way. But when you correct it and you correct the muscle memory, the body starts to remember, oh, okay, this is the way I'm supposed to stand, and starts to teach the muscles to really stand up or hold you, support you properly.
So also, I also, that sounds really great. And I think that's a really good pointer for everyone. When you feel like you're slouching, just go stand up against the wall for a minute and try to reposition yourself.
Kind of position yourself.
Think about the way your body is around you, you know, be aware of your body. Physical therapy, well, what I know they would do is really strengthen certain muscles and show you certain exercises for the core, correct?
Yes, because they look to strengthen the core muscles, the front. We always think the core muscles is just our obliques or abdomen muscles, but our core muscles really start down in our thighs and work their way up, front and back. So it's not just, you know, what we traditionally think as the obliques, that we have those little nice 6 boxes. That's not the core. The core really starts at your legs. Your thighs start to work. Your abdomen and we have so many muscles that go further in beyond what is on the surface, and then your back muscles as well. So yes, physical therapy will help target those muscles. Yoga will target all those muscles as well. And probably go in a little deeper, because some of the yoga poses actually allow for those deeper muscles, the psoas muscles that are further into the body. Those are the ones that are the true cores of what help us stand up correctly. And if those muscles are feeling tight, then we're not standing correctly.
That's great. I will just say that when the gym just reopened, and I'm wearing my mask everywhere, I do the rowing. I do the rower. And I'm finding out that my thighs are getting stronger, and maybe that's why my back isn't bothering me as much. Interesting. Yeah, that was all my trouble to begin with. Who knows? I'm just saying that, you know, we need to be moving to find out how to get rid of our pain. And if it doesn't go away, you definitely have to get some medical look at, because you just, you know, sometimes even back pain, I'm just going to say, could be kidney problems. You know, you really, really need to keep a little list or diary of how your pain is, where is your pain, how long did it go on, and what did you do to relieve it? And then if it doesn't do all of that, you need to have it evaluated to find out why you have pain.
Yes,
Where.
absolutely. And that's definitely the best recommendation, because if you don't want to self-medicate, but you want to know that where you stand, and then go from there to be able to properly be able to take care of yourself, because that's part of self-care.
Because there is like non-steroidal, the NSAIDs, and NSAIDs are not really good for older adults. They're hard on the kidneys and they're not recommended. Advil, Motrin. A lot of people are on aspirin and blood thinners, and you definitely don't want the NSAIDs, and it's definitely gastric GI bleeding is referred to that. So it's not something to take lightly and to be on for a long, long time without why you have pain. Steroids will definitely be a quick fix, but it certainly won't help the long-term effects. And
it's not going to get to the root of the problem.
And they also have a lot of side effects. Steroids.
Yes.
Then they also talk about epidural injections. Interesting, with cortisone and numbing.
It helps, and it's the same thing. The epidural is a longer short term. If that makes sense. It sometimes, if the muscle is too tight or there's a lot of pain, it makes it hard for the body to move. An epidural is an option if the pain is excruciating.
And you know what it does? It gets you to move so the physical therapy can work you through it.
Yes.
Also yoga. One thing you have to remember with problems like this is that you need more than one treatment, everyone. Maybe you don't bank on one thing to be your total salvation here. You need to really think about other things that you can do. Like if you need to lose weight so you don't have a belly in the front, and stop smoking and start walking, you may find that might be 50% of your pain is relieved just by changing your body
moving.
Yeah, and moving.
Yep.
So your daughter had bracing though, right? Let's talk about that for a minute.
Bracing is done more when as an adolescent. Sometimes they've used it as an adult, but the bracing is more to prevent the curve from coming out even more, or if there's fear that the scoliosis is going to grow, then they'll put in the brace. Brace is not so much used for the adults more than it is for the kids when they're still growing. So there's still that potential that the scoliosis can get worse in that respect.
So your daughter had a brace for a few years?
She wore a brace for 3-4 years, really, until she got through her growth spurt. Once she was done with her growth spurt, the brace was of no service anymore. So now she uses yoga. She did swimming, she wore the brace, and she practiced yoga. So she's been practicing yoga since she first got diagnosed, and she still continues to practice yoga today. And being the normal teen that she is, she falls off. Yes. But she notices the difference, and she tells me, "Mom, my back hurts, my this hurts." And I'm like, "Well, have you been practicing your yoga?" And she goes, "Well, not these days." And I said, "Well, go back." And then when she goes through a good stretch of back in line, she's like, "I feel so much better. I feel taller. I feel looser. I can move better." And I said, "This is what I do because I know it works."
And someday when she has babies, she may go through another phase of this.
She may go through another change, but if she continues on her path, then her muscles are strong enough, and she's kept good muscle tone that will not allow her to slip into a further, for scoliosis to actually worsen, versus maybe just stay where it's at.
Okay, we talked about chiropractic care. Maybe we didn't talk too much about that. Do you have anything you want to add about that as a possible?
Like you said, that when you're treating scoliosis, it's not just one single treatment. You have to do what works best for you. Physical therapy, seeing a chiropractor for that occasional muscle tension, maybe that needs adjustments. Following up with a good practice, whether it's an exercise that you like, whether you like walking, a good stretching of the body, or a yoga practice that gives you the full stretch, that full motion of where your joints are moving, you're stretching all these muscles, even regular muscles that physical therapy may not necessarily kind of reach.
Okay, I hear that. Surgery is like the absolute end of the, we talked about that in the beginning of this, but
Yes.
yeah, that's the
But
last
yeah,
thing we want to
surgery,
do, right?
it's the last thing you want to do, because surgery will not necessarily guarantee that your discomfort is going to go away. You may look like you have a beautiful spine because everything will be nice and straight,
Hmm.
but the discomfort associated with it is not necessarily guaranteed to go away. That was one of the discussions I had with my daughter's orthopedics. He kept recommending surgery, and
Hmm.
in the last discussion I had with him, I was like, well, if we go through surgery, can you guarantee me that my daughter will be pain free? Because that is my concern. And he looked at me honestly and he says, no, I can't guarantee that she'll be pain free. Then I was like, we're done with this discussion.
Yeah, there's
Because if
nothing else
you,
to offer there.
yeah, I was like, that's not even a discussion for us. For
Hmm.
me, it's more of learning to move your body in a healthy way where you can relieve the discomfort that you're experiencing. And once you've learned to move in a mindful way that relieves that discomfort, and that means moving the body in a mindful way, meaning stretching the spine, stretching the muscles, causing that space between the vertebrae that is causing the crunching or the pressing on the nerves. When you have a beautiful practice like that, you will feel better.
Yeah.
And you will be pain-free longer.
Hmm. So that we talked about all the treatments, everyone, how you can find it if you have it. You find out what you can do to maybe not prevent it, but to prevent it getting worse, perhaps,
Yeah.
by good care. Now, Krisber is located in the East Coast in Westchester and in Rockland County, New York, but there are other people. She was trained under Elise Browning Miller, and we will be able to send you information about the Scoliosis Foundation. You could find out people who are trained, right?
Yes.
Like you under this.
She's trained a lot of people across the United States, and I'm sure she's even gone outside, but she has a list of all the trainers
That's
that are
great.
available, and even those trainers can direct you to someone maybe local,
That's
even
great.
more
So
local.
you're on Facebook, right? And
Yes,
Instagram? And
I'm on
you,
Facebook and Instagram.
okay. And you're Yoga with Krisber.
Yes.
Krisber is Krisber, everyone. And you can also go to yogawithkrisper@gmail.com if you want to just send her an email and you'd help them kind of navigate the system, right?
Absolutely. I'm always answering questions. I was before we got on, I was on with a mother who was curious of one, how yoga will help her daughter, and she just had questions.
Ah,
So
that's
we were
good.
on the phone for a while, and I'm always willing to share, and so much I'm just willing to share information and make sure people make the educated choices that they have,
Yeah.
and know that, again, it's not just one treatment. This is a whole way of living, and you need to put together what works best for you as an individual.
So everyone, as you've been seeing me on my YouTube channel, people do email me at nancythemp@gmail.com. I also had other speakers, and we kind of email each other, and it becomes more of a personal touch so that I'm letting you use the experts to find the information you need out there, because you could search the web, but you're not sure what you're searching for. And if you're looking for some warm referrals to help you find the right place, I'm thinking that's going to help us a lot through this hour. So I'm finding that helpful. I'll also put Krisber's phone number up for you guys. So don't forget, go to facebook.com at my Caregiver Success page. Check out some downloadables. We are going to give you some handouts and some pictures so you can see what we saw. There's also another very interesting part of this information she gave me from Brayfield Brain and Spine. They will give you sources and links, which I will also add. Hey, the more good information you have out there, the less you get misled and the less time you spend searching.
Yes, definitely.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell everyone, Krisber, before we go?
If they see me on Facebook, I do, or Instagram, it's the same name. You'll see a lot of the work that I do, which is mostly with children, but I do work with adults. I like to keep my adults private.
Yeah, good.
So don't be turned off and say, oh, she only works with children. I work with everyone. It's just I try to keep my adults private. Adults have a different view of social media, and I like to respect that. So I do post a lot of articles, poses that can help the general. If you're no matter what you're feeling, it could just help alleviate some of that tension that you feel. So that is what you'll see on my page. But definitely, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always here and available to answer questions.
That's great. And everybody should be stretching every morning and every night.
Yes.
You know, we don't do it at 20 and 30 and 40, but I'll tell you what, with all of us sitting at home working at our desks, you've got to get up and then you got to stretch on the floor or lie on your bed and stretch. If you don't want to get on the floor, find ways to stretch yourself out and don't
get on the chair. You don't have to get up from the chair.
You can stay in your chair. Well, thank you, Krisber, for being here. And to everybody out there, I hope you have a great day. From Nancy, the nurse practitioner at Caregiver Success. Check out my Facebook page at caregiversuccess.com. And also I have a book called Caregiver Success on my page called caregiversuccess.com if you're looking for more information like these videos. You stay well. Until the next video, take care. Bye.